Hey guys, Underspire1127 here, bringing you Fairy Tale Chapter 297, The Face of the Girl I Saw Back Then. Well, I gotta admit, this chapter was actually way better than last week's chapter. And it actually made me glad that I did not give up on the series yet, because there are some interesting things that have been revealed for this week. So the chapter begins with the Natsu's victory over beating the Dragon Slayers. So the final day of the Grand Magic Games will take place the day after tomorrow, and according to the announcer, it's going to be a survival match where every team member is going to participate. So a 5-on-5 battle for, each team, or it could be a battle royale of every team member going to face off against each other. That's what I'm thinking. And the remaining guild members, they decided to target Fairy Tale since, now they're in first place, and a couple of characters actually want to face off against the members of Fairy Tale. And then you had to cut to Lecter crying, which I don't really care because he was so sad and disappointed over... Well, not really disappointed, he's just really sad that Sting lost. Meanwhile, the remaining members, Orga, Rufus, and Minerva of Sabretooth, they actually couldn't believe that Sting and Rogue lost to Natsu. Gemma, the guild master of Sabretooth, he's watching the match, and he's really upset over their loss. So upset that everyone around him notices him, and they just run away in fear. Meanwhile, at the battleground, Natsu goes over to both Sting and Rogue and tells them that he wants to fight them again. Although, it would be pretty funny if they were just both unconscious and they didn't hear what Natsu said. But it seems that Rogue is still conscious, and he said that he couldn't believe that he lost to Natsu, and that if Gajio was just as strong as Natsu is, then he probably overestimated himself. Too bad we're not going to be able to see this match. Who knows, maybe we might, maybe we won't, but if we won't see Rogue facing off against Gajio, and this may have been the one time we would have seen it, well, so much for that, huh? Anyway, we cut back to underground. Apparently the mining cart that carried Gajio led him all the way down underground, and of course he's really pissed off that Natsu pushed him aside so he could face off against both of them. He says he wants to kill Natsu for it, and honestly, I don't really blame him. I was pissed off at that moment too. Anyway, since he's underground, he decides to explore, and he comes across a huge skeletal corpse of a dragon. And it's not just one dragon, but there are tons of dragon skeletons all around the ground. And apparently he came across a dragon graveyard. So this is definitely interesting. It seems that I don't know if this is possible, but maybe there's some of the dragons hid underground in the Grand Magic Games Stadium, or since this is the Ryoju side, the Dragon King Festival, maybe dragons had to fight against each other. Anyway, we cut to Yukino. She's apparently appointed sergeant by Arcadios because Arcadios somehow convinced her that he's doing the Eclipse plan to save the world, and Yukino wants to do everything she can to help him. I honestly have no idea what this Eclipse plan has to do. So far, all we know is that there is a gateway, and it requires possibly the 12 Zodiac Keys to reunite, and the sacrifice of a Celestial Spirit Mage, and this Eclipse plan has connection with the dragons, the Dragon King Festival. So maybe Arcadios is hiring Yukino so he could sacrifice her to open the gateway to release the dragons. That's what I think. And honestly, I have no idea what Arcadios' intentions are with this plan. All I know is that it has something to do with Zareth, even though I have no idea what this has to do with Zareth, but all I know is that since we're seeing visions of the castle being destroyed, obviously it's not going to end well. Levy, Jet, and Joy come to visit Elfman, Lucy, Wendy, and Jarl, and they're all happy because Fairy Tale won. But during all this, we get this narration by Levy. According to her, the last day was an amazingly fierce battle, but on July 7th, we lost to fate. Now, July 7th is the day Arcadios goes with the Eclipse plan. On that day, they lost to Fate. And then I think we cut into the future, I'm assuming, on that day. And we see Levy, I'm assuming in the future. She's got a couple of scars on her. She's crying, and she's writing down a letter to Lucy, I believe. I'm not really sure. But according to her, she says that so-and-so died as well, also, and so-and-so who I loved as well as. So, from what is to come, from what we can see, the whole place has been in ruins. Like, it's a huge battlefield. And according to this, we're going to expect some characters to die. You know, not a lot of good characters have died so far in this series. The only person I ever recall dying was Simon and Lucy's dad. I believe Zancro died. Racer died, I think. I don't know who else has died. But, yeah, just knowing that other characters are going to be dying seems to be quite surprising, really. And, you know, when Levy said that we lost to Fate, I'm assuming it's not just Fairy Tail, but Fairy Tail will probably ally themselves with the other guild members like Lamia Scale, Quasar Puppy, Blue Pegasus, maybe even Mermaid Heel and Sabretooth. I'm not really sure. But I could assume that during that time, in July 7th, the dragons and the demons escaped through that gate. Lucy or maybe Yukino's probably been sacrificed to open that gate. And the mages have to probably fight against the dragons. And apparently this is bringing destruction in Earthland, in Fiore. And so many characters have died, so this is starting to get really, really interesting of what's to come. Also, if this is going to be like a huge war, does this mean that this might be the final arc in Fairy Tail? Who knows? Anyway, we cut back into the present. Jellal, as Miss Gunn, he's following the person who has the similar powers as Zaref. He manages to catch up to the person and tells him or her to show him that person's face. So according to Jellal, it was a woman. So it's not Zaref, it's not Yukino, it's a girl, and her face is revealed to Jellal, and Jellal is really surprised. Seems like it's someone that he knows. And you know, right at the page, I was really interested to see who this person is. But when I clicked onto the next page, it was a big page that says "to be continued," and you know that's where the chapter ends. Yeah, so this chapter was actually pretty good. Seems like we're learning a little bit more. We got like 3 more days, I believe. We have the day off, day 5 of the Grand Magic Games, and that day and the day after that will be July 7th, the day when Arcadios begins his eclipse plan. Now, I have no idea what intentions Arcadios' intentions are with this plan, but it doesn't seem to be really good. It seems that he might bring the destruction of every single human being, considering of what we saw, the castle being destroyed, the Fiore being completely in ruins. Who knows? And Levy, and seeing it into the future where Levy was writing a letter, it seems like she's writing a letter to help or writing a letter to Lucy. Something may have happened to her, like she may have been, maybe she's been sacrificed, or she probably went to another dimension. Maybe the dimension where the gate leads to, I'm not really sure. And according to Levy, a couple of characters may die soon. And that is really surprising. I mean, lately, ever since Fairy Tail started, not a lot of characters have died. Or maybe some characters did die, we just didn't realize it. So, I'm actually hoping a couple of my favorite characters don't die in this series. I don't know who might die. Maybe a couple of characters who aren't really that important might die. I'm not sure. But, yeah, so according to this, Fairy Tail will continue in issue 43. So the next 2 weeks will be a side story from within the Grand Magic Game. So, after 2 weeks, I believe we'll continue on with 298, which is called The Breathtaking Land of Ryuzetsu. Ryuzetsu, I'm not really sure. Breathtaking Land of Ryuzetsu. I think the Ryuzetsu could be the place where all the dragons are now. Or it could be the name of the graveyard. I'm not really sure. So the next 2 weeks we'll be getting side stories with the Grand Magic games. I'm not really sure what they're going to be about. Hopefully it might not... I'm not really sure if I'm going to be reviewing that, but until then, I'm actually looking forward to the next chapter. So, you know what? Overall, this was a great chapter. It was very informative. It kept things really interesting, and definitely way better than last week's chapter. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. So yeah, that's Fairy Tail chapter 297. I'm Lunar Spiral 27, and I'll see you guys later.